Jai Gurudev. Welcome, Dushyant ji Bhaiya.
Jai Gurudev, how are you?
All good, all good. So we have Dushyant Savadia ji with us today, and he's famous in art of living for his viral YouTube video about his near-death experience story. And again, most of us know him for his work in Caribbean, with Caribbean teachers, and we have recorded, Dushyant Bhaiya, we have recorded with at least 10 to 16 Caribbean teachers. We have recorded their group Guru story. And that will come soon. But I would like to start with you how this whole journey started for you. What was your background before Art of Living?
No background before Art of Living. I wish I can hide my face, but before Art of Living, I was a notorious youth. Back when I was 14, 15, I started drinking alcohol. And I remember I used to drink almost 1 liter of rum every single night for almost 5 or 6 years. And I used to smoke 60, 70 cigarettes a day. I used to be very angry, stubborn, and definitely a person you would not want to associate with. And over time, when I was 19, my parents got fed up of me and threw me out of the house. And one night, my father was so upset, they just put some clothes in a bag and asked me to leave the house. So 2 o'clock in the morning, I was asked to leave the house, and I went away and to the railway station. I thought, whatever train comes first, that will be my destination. And the first train was to Delhi at 5 a.m., Rajdhani those days. And I just boarded the plane, bought a ticket, got in, arrived in Delhi. I started my career as a waiter in a restaurant. And then I worked my way up. Eventually, I was working for Xerox. And then Art of Living happened. I took the Art of Living course in 1998, I think. And that course had a tremendous effect on me. But I did not really connect with Gurudev or Art of Living. Of course, I was still an alcoholic. I used to drink a lot of liquor in those days also. Even after the course, it reduced quite a lot, but it didn't stop. And just about, I think, very early 1999 is when I met Gurudev the first time in Cochin. And that one meeting kind of changed my whole life. And, I'll share with you a little story. I met him, but I was in a I was not in a guru mode and stuff like that. I didn't want a guru in life and didn't want to go spiritual or do anything like that. But what really happened, Digvijay, is that I met him and he was sitting on the sofa and I was sitting next to him on the floor. And somehow that event happened. And at one point, I'm just thinking in my head, what am I doing here and what is going on? And he looks at me and says, "Haan, Dushyant, pehchana mujhe?" That's all he asked. And just all of a sudden, there was just so much of love and so much of joy and kind of a vision what I was born for. And that's how, I looked at his eyes and I said, "Gurudev, what do you want me to do?" And he said, "Haan, tum ashram aa jao aur teacher bano." So that is how my journey started with Art of Living.
So then you became teacher immediately, or then you started doing
In
seva?
about Yes, in about 6 months' time, I actually became an Art of Living teacher. It was very rapid. I just moved from one course to another very quickly, and then and then in 2001, I kind of thought this is it. I went to him. I said, "Gurudev, this is what I want to really do in my life now." And I left my job and I became a full-time Art of Living teacher in 2001, and then he moved me to the United Kingdom, where I lived for almost 12 years, and then I've been in the Caribbean now for 8 years.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to ask you about the first story about your near-death experience. But before that, I would also like to know more about the kind of business that you currently, which is very famous in 23 countries, you're working and you're revolutionizing and transforming the oil and gas industry. So, what is it exactly?
Thanks for asking. So I'll share with you a proper Guru story. Why, in the first place, we have this massive company called the Amber Group, which has now 7 subsidiaries, and it has more than a presence in 23 countries around the world where we currently operate. But I want to share with you first why, in the first place. In 2011, I went to Gurudev. I was in a low phase of my life, and kind of I just separated and divorced with my ex-wife, and I wanted to kind of come out of UK and do something else. And of course, I had made some mistakes which I am responsible for, and things were not good with me at that time. And I met Gurudev in July 2011 in Canada. I went to see him at my lowest phase of my life, and he just caught my hand and he said, हाँ कुछ भी हो तो मेरे लिए काम कर, तू सबको छोड़ और मेरा काम कर पूरी तरह. And then I said, Gurudev, what should I do? I don't want to live in the UK anymore also. And he said, Dushyant, people in the Caribbean are waiting for you. You go there. And I did not know anybody in this side of the world at that time. Caribbean is a very large, group of islands, and mainly a tourism hotspot, and beautiful, gorgeous side of this world. And I came to Jamaica in 2012. I started with Curacao, taught a lot of courses there. I started Aruba, St. Martin, Barbados, where we had no presence of art of living whatsoever. No courses been taught before, no presence there, no teachers there. So within 4 or 5 months, I created some massive wave. When I say I, it is him. But we were very successful as Art of Living Foundation. Thousands and thousands of people took courses in all these islands, and I was the only teacher. Every week I'll hop to a new island, teach a course of 400 or 500 people, and go to the next island and come back five weeks later. But I came to Jamaica in 2012, and I made this as my home because it's 1 hour from Miami. It was more strategic to move around the rest of the islands from Jamaica, and Jamaica is the largest English-speaking Caribbean country also, and somehow it felt like home. Jamaica felt like home to me. So I stayed here, but in 2012, 2013, 2014, we did tremendous amount of work. I personally taught nearly 3,000 inmates in one of the world's most dangerous prisons, rehabilitated. The psychiatric department of the prison actually published a record saying that Art of Living courses in the prisons in Jamaica have massively transformed the prisoners, that for 1 year, when we were doing the follow-ups every week and teaching courses every week in the prison, not a single infraction happened during that 1 year when we were deeply engaged with the inmates on a daily basis. So that was the transformation we brought, and I taught nearly 35 gangs, inner cities, schools, colleges, corporates. I was the only teacher for a long time, and teaching 4 courses a day from morning 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. And I was very passionate because we know how Gurudev's knowledge, his message, his simple way of waking the soul, which is asleep in this Maya or this world that we see, was quite a journey to see all these people waking up all of a sudden to life, knowing, oh, life is more than what we know as work and home and our actions of the past. Life is not about the mistakes you made. Life is about the responsibility you take now to serve your spirit, which is wanting to know more, grow more, and your neighbors, your country, and the world. So, but what happened, to come back to your question, I'm sorry, I want to give you a little context about how I got to start the business in the first place. Early 2015, we ran out of funding completely, which I still remember, as so many people took the course. We received a lot of funding from these courses, and we reutilized all this money back to doing all these seva projects in Jamaica, which do not really bear any um, 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 income as such. So a lot of expenses to do all of these seva projects, and a lot of them at the same time. And we had teachers coming from US in bulk to teach in so many different inner city locations and so on. So what happened eventually is, when I ran out of funding completely, early 2015, I still remember 2nd of January 2015, I had no food in my fridge. I had no gas in my car, and I had 80 Jamaican dollars, which is like $1.50 US, or maybe about 60 rupees in India. So I had absolutely no money, and I decided at that point that yes, I could immediately go back to our volunteers, devotees, go back to corporates who have taught and ask for donations and ask for sponsorships. But suddenly at that time, I realized that is not the sustainable way to serve Gurudev's message, and it's not a sustainable way to completely depend on course fees also to serve that Guruji's large vision to bring a smile on every face, and also be a economic, social backbone to the nations. And that's when I decided to come up with some ideas, and we started with a payment gateway. Then I went into Amber Connect, which is a vehicle tracking fleet management software and hardware related to that. And that's now in 23 countries around the world. And from there, I evolved to bringing Amber Innovations, which is a software company of us, where we actually build software for very large banks around the world, very large businesses around the world. So that's a massive business unit which employ hundreds of software developers in-house to build enterprise software solutions. In fact, in the pandemic, we actually built the entire software to manage the pandemic for 7 countries in the Caribbean now. So the immigration, tracking for quarantine, lab testing, everything is actually run in the 7 countries through our software that we donated to the government of Jamaica as a donation from Amber Group and Out of Living to support the pandemic crisis of the entire country. So Amber Innovations is that, and then we went into Amber Fuels, which is a petroleum. It plays in the petroleum industry, enabling very large gas station companies. So we have a partnership with Texaco, which is a very large gas station company. So we kind of built a forecourt solution for gas stations, and then we went into Amber Pay, which is like your Paytm in India, but this is Paytm times 10 in the Caribbean. So it's quite a lot of work that we've done in the payment space now. And then we went into also doing aviation. So we're buying planes for tourism purposes and so on. So we're into a lot of different business streams, but all of that has only one sankalpa, to do good and fulfill the vision of Gurudev. So the entire team, we now employ over 1,000 people in our ecosystem, but all of us serve a single purpose: to do good for humanity under the guidance and inspiration of Gurudev.
Yeah, and I remember you came to Delhi, and I got an opportunity to facilitate your meeting with the oil and gas minister, cabinet minister in India, and you were offering him to transform the way gas industry functions here.
Correct.
It would have been good if it would have worked out, but it happens for the best, I think.
Absolutely.
So now coming back to the story everybody is waiting for, we will start with that story now. The story where you had near-death experience.
Yes, so this was in my early days again. I think this was in 2001 or 2000. Um, it was quite an event, and I think I'm one of the living examples of how grace works and how Gurudev directly can enhance and influence life by itself. So this happened back in 2000. I think I was at my brother's wedding reception, and all of a sudden in the evening, out of the blue, there was no prior indication. I have no ill health, no nothing at all. And one evening I saw my whole right side of the face deviated like this on one side. So we realized there is something wrong. I flew to Chennai straight away, and got admitted into the hospital the same night. And within a few hours, Digvijay, by middle of the night, my whole body went into paralysis from kind of head to toe. I could not move my hands, I could not move my legs, I could not move my back, I could not move my neck. And I was in the hospital, middle of the night. The entire body went into a full paralysis into it. And it was diagnosed as Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is apparently a very rare virus and very rare in the intensity that I received of that virus. And yes, I mentioned this very briefly back in that time in a YouTube video, which is, I believe, is being circulated quite a lot. But what really happened was also, while the body was paralyzed, the virus started attacking, shutting down all the other important functions of my body as well. For example, it went into my optic nerve, so I could not see anymore. I lost sight. Then it impacted my throat muscles, so I could not drink anymore. I couldn't swallow my own saliva anymore. And so the doctors knew that it's a rapid deterioration. And finally, the biggest impact was that the virus finally attacked my respiratory muscles. So my heart stopped and my pulse stopped, and I had a flat line. And that was and imagine, this is all medically documented. So going to that flat line, but my brain was still active, and I was pretty much declared dead. And my uncle in those days, who facilitated my journey in art of living, he passed away many years ago in Delhi. He called Gurudev and said, and Gurudev was in Germany at that time. And he called Gurudev. Apparently what we heard from the devotees in Germany who were around him at that time, that Gurudev was having lunch, or sorry, having food or dinner or something, and he just stopped and he went and stood near the phone. And the phone rings, and my uncle goes, Gurudev, and Guruji, before even hearing anything else, asks, "Haan, kya hua hai Dushyant ko? What happened to Dushyant?" And my uncle said, Gurudev, he is no more. He just passed away, and he had this virus. And Gurudev said, "Kuch nahi hoga usse. Main hu na. Abhi to usse bahut kaam karna hai." And I feel very fortunate that I had work to do, so he kept me back for a little longer. But he pretty much said that to my uncle, "Kuch nahi hoga usse. Main hu na. Abhi to usse bahut kaam karna hai." So my uncle said, "Kya kare fir Gurudev?" And he said, हाँ, उसको बोलो, उसके कान में जाके बोलो, ओम नमः शिवाय चैंट करने के लिए, जाप करने के लिए, ask him to chant Om Namah Shivaya, and wake up everybody you can, ask everybody to chant Om Namah Shivaya. So my uncle put down the phone, Gurudev goes into his room. That's all people from Germany could tell us many months later when they found out that I was the guy. And on this side, my uncle called up back to the hospital, to my family, and they said, Gurudev has said nothing will happen to him. Go to him and tell him in his ears Gurudev has said to chant Om Namah Shivaya. So that is happening in the physical world around me. When I say around me, around my body. And on my side now, it was quite a interesting experience. It's almost like I popped out of the body. It was like a popcorn. It gets heated and it just flies out from the pan. It was a similar experience on my side, which I didn't share 20 years ago when I did, almost 20 years ago when I did that first near-death experience video. So I want to share a little more, which is not there in that video. So I kind of popped out, and popping out, I'm seeing my own body on the floor, which is quite astonishing and an experience by itself. And I'm looking at everything, but looking at nothing at the same time. It's very hard to explain that I'm everywhere, but nowhere. I'm seeing everything, but really not seeing anything. I feel like I have a body, but I don't have a body. I mean, it's just very weird. It is quite a strange, quite a strange experience. In fact, after that, only I lost. I don't have a fear of death anymore, because the other side is beautiful. There's nothing to fear about, and especially when you have a guru in life, you absolutely have nothing to worry about. You will see him there first before you see anybody else, and he'll take you and safely keep you where you need to be, with all the love and all the wisdom that you've gained. So to me, it was pretty much I jumped out. I can kind of, it's very ethereal. You're there, you're not there. I don't even know how to explain, but it was quite a powerful experience. And then I found myself seeing some people, I don't recognize them, and then I kind of not walking, but like you stand in an escalator and you're moving, but you're moving, but you're not walking. So it was a similar experience of being there and moving but not moving. It's like hard to describe these things. And then I all of a sudden heard a voice of Gurudev, and he said, Om Namah Shivaya chant karo, or just that, the chant Om Namah Shivaya. And I heard that voice, and I kind of startled that how am I hearing voice when it is so silent? And I knew that that's him. And he said, "Kuch nahi hoga, tumhe bahut kaam baki hai." I heard all of that too. I guess I was listening to his phone, somehow tapped into that phones in some way. So I started chanting Om Namah Shivaya. Now bear in mind, I feel like I have a body, but I don't have a body. So I felt like something like a wheel, like a Sudarshan chakra only. So something like a wheel. It started rotating as I started chanting. And at one point, the wheel started rotating so fast. I couldn't even, all I could see is a very large wheel rotating in front of me then. And boom, there is a massive golden light. And there's a flash of golden light. And the next thing I see is I'm back in my body. And quite a few minutes have passed here, and doctors are running around and trying to pump. They put me on a ventilator and they try to pump and do this. This is the last final few efforts. In fact, I still remember my family also signed, my ex-wife at that time, she was my fiance. She also signed a document, I believe, to consent to extend the time that I was on the ventilator, because I was not breathing anymore. So they kind of were pumping me to breathe, but they said you can't do it for beyond a certain time. They said no, just keep doing, because Gurudev has said he will be back. So it was quite astonishing. So I came back. I'm now inside my body again, and I started moving my fingers, and I can physically feel my body, and I know I'm back. I'm not there, but I'm here now. And I slightly moved my finger, my fingers moved. Then I tried to move my legs toes moved. Then I moved my shoulders a bit, that moved. I tried to swallow a little saliva. I could swallow it. I still have Ryle's tube stuck into my nose for them to inject fluid into my body. And they'd done blood transfusion in the meantime and all sorts of things medically that they were trying to do. And there were 4 or 5 senior doctors, from heart to oncologists to all sorts of people, all sorts of doctors and nurses flying around. And what really happened is, at that point we came. I kind of knew I could move, so I kind of sat up with some support of my hands. I just sat up lying down. So when I sat up, all the doctors, they actually took 3-4 steps back, because they could not understand, this guy is flatlined. We are trying to recover, and he kind of moves around, and he kind of waves his hand and he sits up. And they could not understand what was happening. So they might have assumed it's a ghost. And then I turned my head around and I said, I need some water. And they said, no, your throat is paralyzed. You can't drink water like that. I said, no, I'm fine. So I asked them to pull the Ryle's tube out, and I drank a glass of water. And within 7 days, I fully recovered. I walked out of the hospital without any stretcher or any assistance or any aid. And a few weeks later, I was in Delhi, and Gurudev was, and this part actually nobody knows, or some people, or maybe I've shared it before. So I met him in Delhi a few weeks later. I was still a little weak and still trying to recover from the impact. So Gurudev was in his room. I walked into his room and I said, Gurudev, thank you so much. And Gurudev said, "Haan, kya ho gaya tha? Kya hua tha tujhe? What happened to you?" And I said, Gurudev, I had that Guillain-Barré syndrome, and it fully paralyzed me and flatlined me also. And Gurudev, thank you so much that you brought me back again, and I'm back because of you. And look at that. I mean, I've said this before. I said, look at the humbleness in a soul, creating the largest living miracle. He has the ability to say, I didn't do it. That no sense of doership in him was so profound for me to be in a space and see it like that he's saying, "Arey, मैंने तो कुछ नहीं किया, शायद वो मंत्र काम कर गया होगा. I didn't do anything. Maybe that mantra might have worked. The Om Namah Shivaya worked." And he started laughing. And I'm thinking in my head that, we do so little in our life. And we make claims all our life, including wanting a statue of our name and having our name engraved in the wall for donating some money. But look at the simplicity of a Sadguru. He can create the biggest miracle on life and still not take any credit for it whatsoever. He said, no, it was not me, it was something else. And then a few weeks later, I was traveling with him for a while also, and we came to Chennai for a satsang, and he asked me to share the experience. And hundreds and thousands of people, those days I was still very young and a little naughty. So I got on the stage and, I got my limelight and all that thing. And so I'm kind of sharing this whole experience that, Gurudev did this and did that. And then when I finished sharing the experience, he said 2 things, which I think is so relevant to what is happening during this coronavirus pandemic today. 2 things he shared. He said, it is not that I created this miracle. There are 2 reasons. One, that doing Sudarshan Kriya for such a long time, the impact the body gets from it, the ability of the body to heal, and the ability of the consciousness to heal. He's been doing Sudarshan Kriya for so long. How can a virus take him like that? So he said, one, that doing Sudarshan Kriya enhances our ability to fight the virus so hard. And yes, there are so many laws beyond why death happens, but our natural ability to fight a virus, fight diseases, is strengthened, and and kind of that is what creates our ability to fight diseases. So one message was that do your Sudarshan Kriya, because it assists you in your fight with your diseases no matter what it is. So I'm saying now we have Guillain-Barré syndrome kind of a virus, and I could recover from that so fast. And like I said many times, the disease is not that you won't fall sick. Disease is how quickly you can recover from whatever happens to you. How well is your body prepared? How well oxygenated it is, and how well your immune system is defined through the state of mind and through breathing and meditation that assists in strengthening our immune system to fight no matter what comes. That was first thing about doing Sudarshan Kriya, and how that has a real impact in a very subtle way in our consciousness to fight no matter what comes in our life. And second bit of it was, he said, and also there is one pointedness devotion. The devotion to serve, the devotion to do more, the devotion to the master also adds a lot of fuel in what happens in your life as well. He had also this one pointedness focus to do more, to do seva, to be ambitious to do seva and serve. That also brought him back. So these are the two things. One, in this pandemic also, as we are going through it, there is enormous crisis around the world. Economical crisis, marital crisis have risen, and health crisis have risen. Unemployment has risen. But I can tell you, being a witness of that event 20 years ago, what keeps us all going is one, do not miss your meditation, do not miss your sadhana and kriya, because that is what gives us the ability, the strength to fight no matter what comes in our life, physical, mental, or emotional, and also keep your focus to serve. The focus to serve has strengthened our consciousness and strengthens us together, and we're guided by Gurudev so extremely well, where to go, what to do. So we need to take more opportunity. All of us need to become humanitarians and do more for humanity. That is the call of the master. That is what he's taught us for so many years. And we need to give him our shoulders so that he can do more while he's on this earth with us.
Yeah. But I think this is not the only healing experience, no? Miraculous healing experience. There was one more time when you had your shoulder dislocated or something.
Yes. There was another thing that happened back in 2006. I think I did all my medical examination.